There is a cruel paradox in the modern workplace. The harder you try to maintain perfect professional harmony, the more your nervous system treats every minor interaction as a lethal threat. You are walking down a brightly lit office hallway. Someone bumps into your shoulder. You immediately say, "Sorry, you did not even cause the collision." You return to your desk. You open your laptop. You draft an email and instinctively type, "Sorry to bother you," before asking a simple question. You smile. You nod. You play the role perfectly. But beneath that polished exterior is an exhausting internal battle. Your heart races over a delayed message. Your palms sweat. Your throat tightens when you have to speak up in a daily meeting. You feel completely out of sync with a Western culture that demands aggressive confidence and effortless networking. Society rewards the loudest voice in the room. You watch your colleagues navigate small talk with absolute ease. They do not second guess every single word. They do not lie awake at night dissecting a brief elevator conversation. Meanwhile, you are drowning in a silent burnout. You mentally replay every interaction. You search for invisible mistakes. You constantly feel like an imposter in your own life. You are just waiting to be exposed as a fraud. The relentless pressure to be perfectly agreeable is physically draining your biology. You assume there is a fundamental flaw in your personality. You think you are just weak or overly sensitive. But what if your constant need to apologize has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of confidence? Corporate culture has a quick fix for your behavior. They tell you to simply stop apologizing. They hand you mainstream self-help books that preach the alpha mindset. They confidently tell you to fake it until you make it. They say that saying sorry shows weakness in the modern boardroom. But this is perhaps the cruelest myth in modern pop psychology. Why do these standard confidence hacks leave you feeling even more exhausted? Why does forcing yourself to speak louder in meetings make your hands shake even more? The answer does not lie in a flawed personality. It lies entirely in your biology. Society is quick to label you. They casually dismiss you as a fragile introvert who desperately needs to be fixed or coached. They relentlessly pressure you to adopt a perfect, aggressive persona just to survive the corporate ladder. But trying to sustain this distorted mask is exactly what is draining your nervous system dry. You are not fundamentally broken. You are simply exhausted from fighting a deep biological reflex with a cheap motivational quote. This F-or-et confidence is a literal war against your own body. You cannot outsmart a survival mechanism with positive thinking. When you try to act tough, your brain senses a lie. It takes massive amounts of cognitive energy to maintain a rigid posture that your inner system completely rejects. So if it is not a lack of self-esteem or tragic personality defect, what exactly is happening inside your head when you reflexively apologize for simply existing in a room? But this constant apologizing is not a sign of emotional fragility. Your brain is completely functioning. The truth is much more fascinating. When you finally leave that crowded networking event and close your apartment door, you might think the social pressure is over. But your brain does not shut down. It does not rest. Instead, it immediately boots up a powerful neurological system known as the default mode network. In a calm mind, this system handles quiet daydreaming and creative problem solving. But in a highly vigilant mind, this network is violently hijacked. It transforms into a ruthless calculating machine. You lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, while your brain actively replays every single awkward pause, analyzes every slight change in a colleague's facial expression, and magnifies every microscopic mistake. Society casually calls this overthinking. But cognitive neuroscience reveals a much darker reality. Your brain is aggressively running a threat simulation to protect you from future social rejection. It will mercilessly condemn you for a tiny, insignificant stutter during your morning presentation. It takes the perfectly normal, neutral interactions of your day, twisted them into a catastrophic narrative of failure, and forces your nervous system to physically relive the panic. Your physical body is perfectly safe under the blankets, but your biological system is still frantically fighting for survival in that office hallway. This endless involuntary neural scanning is exactly why your body feels so profoundly exhausted every single day. You are burning a massive amount of metabolic energy just trying to survive the quiet moments inside your own head. Why does your body perceive a simple office conversation as a matter of life or death? What is actually happening beneath the surface of your skin when someone merely looks at you? To understand this intense physical reaction, we must look at the polyvagal theory. Your body is equipped with an incredibly fast, unconscious surveillance system called neuroception. It operates completely outside of your logical thoughts. While your rational mind knows you are standing in a perfectly safe, temperature-controlled office building, your nervous system is desperately scanning the environment for predators. When you are forced into casual small talk with a loud colleague, your body does not register a friendly conversation. It detects a lethal TH3. Because you feel completely out of sync with the aggressive corporate culture around you, Your nervous system cannot anchor into a safe, socially engaged ventral vagal state. Instead, it instantly drops you into a primitive fight or flight response. Your heart beats faster to pump blood to your limbs. Your palms sweat to cool your body down for an escape. Your throat tightens. These are not signs of a weak personality. These are the exact physiological markers of terror. But in a modern boardroom setting, you cannot physically fight your colleagues. You cannot sprint away from a networking event, so your brilliant nervous system selects a hidden survival strategy. It chooses the Fawn response. You preemptively apologize for everything. You make yourself as small and agreeable as possible to avoid triggering conflict. Your constant apologies are a profound survival mechanism. They are deployed by a body that believes it is in grave danger. Your nervous system does not care about your corporate dignity. It does not care about your career trajectory. It only cares about keeping you alive until the end of the day. It constantly triggers a false alarm to appease the aggressive individuals it perceives as predators. But why would a sophisticated human brain be wired to interpret a simple networking event as a matter of life and death? But this intense social vigilance is not a genetic mistake. Your constant overthinking is not a disease. It is a profound evolutionary heritage. Society casually labels you as fundamentally broken. But evolutionary psychology demands a radical reevaluation of your entire worth. If we travel back thousands of years to the harsh, unpredictable environments of our ancient ancestors, survival did not belong to the loudest or the most aggressively confident individuals in the group. Survival belonged to the highly observant. Survival belonged to the sentinel. Your ancestors were the ones who stayed awake while the rest of the tribe carelessly slept. They were the ones who could detect a microscopic shift in the wind. They were the ones who could read the subtle, hostile micro-expressions on a rival's face before a violent physical conflict even started. This incredible hypersensitivity kept human communities alive. Your innate ability to intensely scan a crowded room, to anticipate social friction, and to preemptively apologize was a brilliant advantage. It was the exact diplomatic tool that prevented fatal tribal wars. You are not a weak, fragile employee. You are the peacemaker. You are carrying the genetic legacy of humanity's most crucial protectors. Your brain is a magnificently tuned instrument of survival. It is just currently trapped in the sterile, artificial environment of a modern corporate networking event. Your nervous system is brilliantly doing its job. It is just treating a minor social awkwardness around the water cooler like a lurking predator. Society relentlessly tells you that your quiet caution is a pathetic liability. They demand that you become someone else. But science tells a completely different, epic story. Your so-called social anxiety is actually a profound biological superpower. It is a brilliant, misplaced evolutionary gift that simply needs to be carefully recalibrated. So if you cannot logically think your way out of this ancient physical response, how do we successfully turn off the internal alarm? The mistake we make is trying to think our way out of overthinking. You cannot use the mind to fix the mind. When your default mode network is spinning, logic is completely useless. You have to speak the language of the body. This is where somatic regulation becomes your most powerful tool. Right now, your nervous system is stuck in a loop of danger. To turn off the alarm, you must use bottom-up processing. Stop arguing with your own thoughts. Stop trying to rationally explain why you should not have apologized. Instead, shift your entire awareness downwards. Feel the literal weight of your body pressing into the chair. Notice the tension in your jaw, the tightness in your shoulders, and gently let them drop. Take a slow, deliberate breath, inhaling through your nose and exhaling even slower through your mouth. This specific rhythm of breathing is not just a cheap relaxation technique. It is a biological code. When you elongate your exhale, you are sending a direct physical signal up the vagus nerve, literally forcing your brain to transition back into a calm, socially engaged ventral vagal state. You are actively performing grounding. You are creating a profound sense of safety within your own physical boundary. In this very moment, there is no networking event, there is no awkward silence, and there is absolutely no predator. You are safe. By co-regulating with your own internal system, you teach your body that it does not need to constantly prepare for a war. The anxiety slowly dissolves, not because you found the perfect logical answer, but because you finally made your biology feel secure enough to let go. But once the physical alarm is off, how do we permanently stop putting the artificial corporate mess back on tomorrow? The ultimate healing does not come from changing your personality. It comes from completely rewriting your narrative identity. Western culture has handed you a rigid script. It demands a flawless, outgoing persona. You have spent your entire life exhausting yourself trying to perform this impossible role. But this relentless pursuit of the perfect corporate mask is a profound psychological trap. You do not need to fix your politeness. You do not need to aggressively transform into a louder, more dominant version of yourself. True cognitive liberation begins with a radical acceptance. It is time to consciously let go of the crushing expectation to be flawlessly charismatic in every single room you enter. You must surrender the exhausting battle against your own authentic nervous system. It is perfectly fine to be quiet. It is perfectly fine to experience an imperfect social interaction. Your fundamental human worth is not measured by your ability to effortlessly dominate a networking event. Your pure existence is entirely enough. When you shift your entire focus from constantly doing the right thing to simply being your authentic self, you dismantle the invisible cage. You permanently stop fighting your own biology. You finally claim your inner freedom. But what happens the next time you step into a crowded room when those ancient fears try to surface again? The next time you find yourself standing in the middle of a loud, incredibly crowded networking event? You feel that familiar, gripping tightness creeping into your chest. The overwhelming automatic urge to apologize for simply taking up space begins to rise again. Pause for a single moment. Do not fight it. Do not feel ashamed of your own physiological response. Instead, just gently smile at your magnificent nervous system. The silent transformation happens the exact moment you deeply realize you have never been fundamentally broken. Deep biological self-knowledge is the ultimate truest form of free will. The profound suffering of the imposter syndrome finally ends when you consciously stop blindly reacting to a lethal threat that simply does not exist in reality. Your highly vigilant mind is not a tragic character flaw. It is the most fiercely loyal protector you have ever known. This profound awakening completely changes how you walk through the modern world. You do not need to be perfectly fixed by an aggressive corporate culture. You do not need to be aggressively cured by cheap motivational psychology. You just need to be completely understood by yourself. Let the chaotic, overwhelming noise of the room slowly fade away into the background. Let a complete, absolute cessation of guilt wash over your entire physical body. You are not a burden. You are not a social mistake. You are always safe. Your brilliant ancient body is just desperately trying to keep you alive. The next time you accidentally apologize to an inanimate chair, do not judge yourself. Just warmly smile at your own survival instincts.